Hypnosis with real clients facing genuine issues. Brought to you by the hypnotherapist demanded by celebrities, CEOs, and even royalty, Adam Cox. These recordings took place live from Adam's clinic in London's world-famous Harley Street. So, get yourself comfortable and enjoy today's episode of The Hypnotist.
Hi, it's Adam here, and you're about to listen to a hypnosis session all about changing social behavior. And I was working with a client that felt that they couldn't really pick up on certain cues and respond in the way that they would want in certain social situations. And sometimes that made them feel that they weren't living up to who the person that they wanted to be, and maybe they would disappoint people they care about around them. So this uses the control room of the mind metaphor, but in a specific way. It's a form of control room of the mind plus stage disassociation, and partly the rewind technique as well, so that this client could see behavior they either regretted or were embarrassed by, and then they could keep rewinding and changing it until they were happy with it, and then associate into that resourceful feeling so they could really wire it in and feel that way. But then also to experiment with the idea of having this ability to evaluate pitfalls, but also easy wins in real time. And again, that's all within this control room. So if you've ever had situations where you felt that you embarrassed yourself in social situations, or you didn't speak up as much as you wanted, or you wanted to be a bit more confident and not so people-pleasing, you might get some value from this session. Just be aware that some of the suggestions are very, very connected to the client that I was working with, and that might not be relevant for you. They wanted to be more supportive and encouraging and protective. It might be that you want something else. Maybe you just want more confidence, or you want more playfulness in certain social situations, in which case you can just change and adapt that for you. And if you like the idea of a bespoke session entirely calibrated for you, have a look in the description for a link where we can have a free 30-minute consultation call. We'll have a chat, and maybe I actually end up working with you directly, and I become your hypnotherapist. For now, though, find a quiet, comfortable place where you won't be disturbed, relax, and enjoy the session. Take a deep breath in, and as you breathe in that resourceful feeling of calm and relaxation, and as you exhale, feel a wonderful sense of release, as if any tension, stress, or worries are leaving your body in your outward breath. And when you breathe in, just allow yourself to breathe in for slightly deeper than you normally would. And as you exhale, you can elongate the outward breath, breathing out maybe for twice as long as you normally would. And as you create that vacuum in the diaphragm, you're able to breathe in even deeper than you were before, each breath getting deeper than the last. But I want you to imagine breathing in a feeling of pure resourcefulness, breathing in the resourcefulness and exhaling any feelings of lack, of not being good enough. Just allow that, so each breath makes you feel more worthy and more confident than the last. The deeper you breathe, the more relaxed you become. And the more relaxed you become, the deeper you breathe. And as your body relaxes, your imagination awakens. And I wonder if you could imagine a staircase that leads down to a room. And that room is a control panel for your mind. But let's just walk down this staircase. Any staircase you like. A spiral staircase, a wooden staircase, or perhaps an opulent marble staircase leading down to this control room. And as I count downwards from 10 to 1, each descending number takes you deeper and deeper relaxed. 10, taking that first step, just feeling a wave of relaxation from your forehead. 9, loosening your jaw. And 8, another step down the staircase. Just feel any muscles in your neck and shoulders that might be tense, just releasing that tension. 7, just feel it going down now into your shoulders. And then 6, feel your arms feeling limp, loose and heavy. And 5, just imagine your internal organs all relaxing now halfway down the staircase. 4, that relaxation going into your gut. Continuing to breathe in that distilled representation of worthiness. That's it. Breathing in and breathing out, and then that 4 becomes 3, and just feel your legs feeling like your arms, limp, loose, relaxed. Down into your calf muscles 2, and then 1. Even your toes can feel relaxed, and then rippling up to the top of your head and down to your fingertips. As 0, you are now at the bottom of that staircase. And there is a short corridor that leads to a door, and behind that door is a control room. And this control room has the ability for you to make powerful changes, to access more of those skills, resources, or abilities that you desire, and to reduce anything that you don't. But standing in front of the door, I will count from 5 to 1 and imagine opening the door and walking into that control room. And you may see a futuristic control room, a mechanical control room. Maybe it has dashboards and gauges, or something futuristic, intuitive, just your thoughts control things. 5, putting your hand on the handle. 4, turning the handle. 3, opening the door. 2, walking through the door. And 1, closing the door behind you, and imagine yourself in that control room. And I want you to see a couple of dials. I want you to see a dial for confidence and just turn that up. And then I want you to see a dial for people pleasing, which may be too high, and just dial that down. And I want you to imagine there is a comfortable chair and a big screen. And this screen could look like a cinema screen, or it could look like a high-tech monitor, or perhaps a very large flat screen TV. And this screen has the ability to not just observe memories, but to change them with all the wisdom, knowledge, and creativity you now have. And I want you to think back to a specific memory where you came to the conclusion that your behavior wasn't quite right. Maybe you were not protective enough, encouraging enough, supportive enough, or perhaps something else. But I want you to imagine sitting on that chair, looking up at that screen, almost like you're taking the viewpoint of a documentary filmmaker that happened to be in that place at that time. And therefore you see yourself on the screen like an actor, You're simply the observer. And sometimes when you observe yourself like you're someone else, you can distill new insights and distinctions that were invisible at the time. And there is no requirement to remember it perfectly. Your unconscious will fill in the gaps in the same way that a dream feels like it's real, because your imagination fills in the gaps. That's why I want you to imagine there you are, seeing what happened on a screen exactly as it was. And then perhaps it continues until you found out that what you did was somehow wrong, disrespectful, or not supportive enough, or something else. And if you could imagine seeing that as it actually was, then play it again from a different angle. Just imagine a camera at a different place in the same room, maybe closer, maybe further away, until you get a clear representation of what happened and also what you would like to change. And once you've seen it as it was, let me know by nodding your head. And then imagine rewinding it. But this is the control room of your mind. You are the director here. And I want you to imagine take 2. See yourself doing something else in that same situation that would have improved it for you, improved it for your relationship, and generally, knowing what you now know would have been a preferable version of what happened. But take 2 isn't enough. Some of the great directors had 10, 20, sometimes 50 takes for the same scene. So I want you to imagine you keep rewinding it and playing it forward until you get exactly the right take. Maybe it's your mannerisms. Maybe it's your tonality. Maybe it's what you said or what you didn't say. Maybe it's being more vocal in supporting someone. Or maybe not saying anything and just observing. But I want you to keep changing the takes until you found the perfect one, and then test that scenario out. Allow it to continue until you get that vote of reassurance from someone else's interpretation that if you did do that new thing in that same situation, their emotional evaluation would have been different. And when you found like you've got the right version that's good for you and good for others, that win-win, let me know by nodding your head. That's it, and then rewind it. And when it's at the beginning, I want you to see another dial, and that is sensory acuity. The ability to notice and observe what's going on. Not just your own feelings and other people's, but maybe even the facial expression and the cues from someone you care for. You dial up the sensory acuity and you dial up your self-confidence. People-pleasing and poor boundaries, that's dialed all the way down. You can feel confident being the person you want to be. And when you've got all of that right with the right level of resources, step into the screen. And now just imagine it's the very beginning of what happened. But you are now in your own body. And from a first-person perspective, I want you to feel that you're testing out 2 of your favorite scenarios come to the conclusion which feels right, not just looks right. Try that first version, see how that feels. And then try the second and see how that feels. Just like you're trying on some clothes in a fitting room, but you're only going to choose one. And once you've chosen the best one and you imagine how it would feel to do those things, to say those things, to be that way and feel that way. And if it feels right, let me know by nodding your head. That's it. And then continue the rest. And then just see if the anticipated feedback, observations change. And if it does, it's right. And if it doesn't, just go back and make a minor tweak, a change, an amendment. As you consider yourself like Goldilocks, but instead of 3 bowls of porridge, you've got 30. And you can keep trying the porridge until it's exactly the right one for you. So when you feel like you've got that updated version, I want you to feel that that is then updating your subconscious mind so that anything similar in the future will activate this version of you with this confidence, this level of sensory acuity, and this ability to do things on your terms in the way that you desire, but in full consideration of someone that you care for. Go back to the chair and then think of one more situation that perhaps required you to evaluate things in real time. Maybe it was a large social gathering, maybe something different. And again, see that on the screen as it was. But as the observer, you could imagine that there is additional information that you can pick up on. Things that feel safe, things that feel reasonable and okay, or easy wins, things you could do to let someone know that they are supported, they are respected, they are protected. And I want you to get a sense that there is a particular tone of voice, and that has the ability to evaluate your options. What could I do here? What's the pitfall? And sometimes all it takes is to evaluate the pitfalls and avoid them, and see those low-hanging fruit, those easy wins, and pick them. And I wonder if that part of your mind would be willing to coach you to look for those easy wins and avoid those pitfalls. And just see that version of you on that screen in that same situation, but making different choices based on what you're picking up and what you're observing in real time. And then rewind it, step into that version of you, and feel how it would feel to go in armed with an inner coach. A warm, encouraging voice that says, "Hey, you've got this." But it might nudge you. You could say wonderful things about that person to that group, and it would get back to them, and they would feel honored and supported. Or that person there seems quite arrogant, quite pushy. If that person says something rude, you could easily ask in a very firm, respectful way, what did they mean by that? And that would be you protecting and perceived to be protective. And if you could imagine that confident, encouraging voice guiding you in real time, let me know by nodding your head. And I want you to feel this is a cheat code, a way for you to have an edge. Because by training your brain on the past and feeling resourceful and empowered in the present, you get to avoid more of those pitfalls and pick more of those low-hanging fruit, those easy wins. To step into that, feel what it would feel like in that dynamic with that voice, encouraging you, guiding you, evaluating scenarios, things to avoid, things to be. And then I want you to imagine there is a dial that represents the resources of someone that you admire for having those qualities. Picture their face and just imagine dialing up their resources in you in that same context. What it would feel like to emulate their way of being in certain situations for you. Just dial that all the way up and feel how it would feel to be that way. And if this feels like it would be helpful, let me know by nodding your head. That's it. And then you return to the chair, see the screen, and now see images of your past, but you having the resources you would need, but also see yourself in the future. See yourself with more confidence, more sensory acuity, just noticing what you need to notice, but also the ability to protect if someone needs protecting, to encourage if they need encouraged, to support if they need supporting, to not say anything if it doesn't make sense to say anything at all. Because you don't have to say something, you just could say something. And I want you to feel that your unconscious mind is going to extract wisdom from the past and consider anything in your future as reconnaissance. So you just get better and better and better. It's time to leave this control room, but I want you to see another dial that represents worthiness and just put that all the way up to 100. That you feel absolutely worthy. And then you leave the control room. You close the door. You walk up that same staircase. And then imagine floating all the way back to your present. Very soon I will count from 1 to 10 to awaken you, and you will awaken feeling resourceful, confident, worthy, with almost like a software update to iron out the bugs of the past and install new strategies for the future. So take a deep breath in through your nose and out through your nose. Just wiggle your fingers, wiggle your toes, connect and calibrate into the here and the now as I now count from 1 to 10 to awaken you. Starting to count. 1, 2, 3, waking up. 4, 5, 6, more alert. 7, 8, open your eyes, open your eyes. 9, 10, wide awake, wide awake, wide awake. Thank you so much for joining me on today's episode of The Hypnotist. And if you've enjoyed this show or got some benefit from it, you may know of one other friend or family member that may also benefit from this hypnosis session, in which case I'd like to ask a favor of you. And that is, if you could spend 10 seconds to share this episode with someone that you know that may also benefit, that would really help me to access new people that don't already know about this show. Thank you very much for listening, and I will see you again on the next episode.